So we paused where Vidur has returned and taken Dhritarashtra, Dandavri, and Kunti into the forest. But so, like I said, there's different versions, and one version says that all this happened about 15 years after the war. And then Yudhishthira and them continued to live another 10 years, 35 years after the war. But in this version, that time distinction's not being made. Anyway, it's not that important. The bit that is important is they go into the forest to meditate. Sanjaya is left behind, but I think at some point he joins them. And before Vidur leaves, Yudhishthira goes and learns everything from Vidur as well. Similar to how with Bhishma Pitama that happened. And there's just one line here that I would like to talk about. Well, there's two lines. So this is when they meet itself in the beginning, when Vidur comes to the palace in the exchange of knowledge. Yudhishthira says, saints like you, because you can see that over these years, so even let's say he left just before the war started, he's come back 15 years, at least it's been 15 years afterwards. So for these 15 years, he's done so much tapas that Yudhishthira can recognize. This is also an important point, that Yudhishthira can recognize his elevated spiritual level. Now, the only way to recognize is if you yourself have that level. So that's already saying a lot about Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira says that saints like you are holy places personified. So this is where it's something that Guruji quotes of it. I don't think he quotes it from the Mahabharata. I think he quotes it more from the Ramayana, but a similar sentence is said that Santa Mahatma are walking pilgrimages. So very often we go to the pilgrimage spot. We go to Mount Kailash, or we go to Govardhan Mountain in Vrindavan, and we go to, but highly evolved souls bring that presence or that energy into our lives when we meet them. So we don't have to go anywhere to experience that. Personally, in my journey, I've definitely experienced this. In fact, I think I've gone very few yatras that I have gone. Most of them happened accidentally. The one yatra I myself planned and went on, I didn't enjoy it at all. Maybe this lifetime it's not my path that I have to follow. We had gone to Vrindavan. The birthplace of Krishna. At the moment, there's a mosque, like literally the wall is shared between the birthplace of Krishna and the mosque. And so you hear the namaz being chanted as they do on the loudspeaker. And they can practice beautifully whatever it is they want to practice. When you're trying to meditate on Krishna, it's a little bit, it doesn't kind of sink in as beautifully. And even just the way it was kept. It's not kept the way a mandir or a place of an avatar is. So very disappointing. And that could be my fault. Because, if you go with a certain bhav, your mind is already tuned. You can feel. But I didn't feel. And very, very disappointed because you think you're going to Vrindavan, you want to experience Vrindavan. The only very cool thing about Vrindavan when I went is like they had, in India, they have on the loudspeakers all these songs constantly playing. And the song that seemed to be in vogue that week, 3 days that I was in Vrindavan was Chor, 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 fucking Chor, Chor, Chor. And then I think I heard that song so much. And I've tried so much to find it on YouTube and I can't really find it. It was such a peppy, catchy tune until today in my head suddenly start singing. But, and you think all of Vrindavan will be like that. Like when we go to Rishikesh, you can hear the Aarti bells, like 6 o'clock, 6:05, 6:10. Like different ashrams, you hear the Aarti bells, then you hear the Vedic chanting, you hear your Vishnu Sahasranam getting chanted. I was kind of maybe expecting that environment, and maybe I was at the wrong spot, but don't really get that sense of constant chanting and feel like you're walking next to Radha in the streets. And then when I went, we went straight from there to Delhi. And in Delhi, Pujavariji was there, and he was singing that song. My Hindi is not good enough for me to be able to sing the song, but it's basically the song is saying, Radha's holding the matka on her head, and she's walking through the streets of Vrindavan, and she's saying, please buy Krishna, soft, soft Krishna, fresh, fresh Krishna. And Radha so busy lost in her thoughts of Krishna that she doesn't even realize that she's not selling butter, but she's saying, please buy Krishna. And so Guruji had this incredibly cute smile on his face as he's narrating the story, and then he sings the song. And I closed my eyes, and I was in Vrindavan, walking next to Radha. So, Santa Mahatma bring Tirtha Yatra places into our heart. Like they transport us through time and distance to be able to experience that divine presence. And so this is such a beautiful line that we take. Of course, when we grow up in ashram culture, we have that incredible gratitude and love and reverence for Santa Mahatma. But to even know that you don't have to go anywhere except their feet. And then I remember Mitranandaji telling a story of when the Chennai chicks were piloting Gurudev. They used to do this. Not that Gurudev wanted it, but the chicks wanted to do something. They wanted to feel important. So they used to get on these motorbikes and ride alongside Gurudev's car, like, he was some kind of celebrity or political figure. And it caused a lot of fuss around Gurudev's car. I think this was Gurudev's highlight of being in Chennai, that, all the chicks were going to do this. So they drove him all the way to Balaji Temple. And so there was this, I think, Gurudev going to Balaji Temple, and so suddenly 400, 500 people were there with Gurudev at Balaji Temple because you're going to the temple. And Balaji Temple itself is such a huge Tirtha Yatra, and Gurudev's going. And so I think Gurudev's darshan happened, obviously, very quickly, because they didn't make Gurudev wait. The authorities of the temple were already like so happy Gurudev's coming. His darshan happened too. But 400 people are not going to be taken with Gurudev, right? So I think some of them were still in the line, or some of them were gone for dinner, or some of them. And so some of these chicks that were piloting the car were walking with Gurudev, and they didn't go in, they came out, and they were driving him back to the hotel. And he said to them, so why don't you go? Like, go and have your darshan. Now I'm here, I'm fine. Your job is over, go and have darshan. And I think one of the other youth pretty much did darshan. Maybe not so eloquent and poised, like, but the sentiment is like, why do I need to go there? Right? And that's really the sense of what Yudhishthira is telling to Vidur, that you've come to us, and Yudhishthira has this incredible love for saints and sages. We've seen that all through the Mahabharata, whether it be during the yajnas and honoring the Brahmins, or whether it be in exile and he's staying in satsang. There's one more line. If I can. Okay, so this line becomes, did I mention it last week? The beginning of the Mahabharata, they do that yada, 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 and then there's that line about Kal. Yes, no. Very popular at the moment because of that Oppenheimer movie. No? No, no, no. Nobody remembers this. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a line in chapter 11 during Vishwa Rupa Darshana where Shri Krishna says, I am time. Some people translate that as I am death, but it's not death. Kal is very clearly time. Okay? He is death as well, because creator, sustainer, destroyer. So he is time as well. But here it's I am time. And then it's become quoted in the Oppenheimer movie because the person who's made, what's the word? Made? Created the atomic bomb, very arrogantly says the same thing. Because it's such a weapon of mass destruction. But he says it with arrogance, huh? And he doesn't say I'm time. He says I am death. But the line is I am time. And that's the line that they chose to be the opening music, our prelude of the series of the Mahabharata. Understanding that it's such a essential message of the entire Mahabharata and the entire teaching of the Mahabharata. And the fact that it's I am time. What does that mean to you guys? I am time. Bhagwan saying, I am time. Here it's Vidur saying that the Lord is time. Here Vidur is not saying I am time. In the Gita, Krishna is saying I am time. But here in this section of the Mahabharata, this line, that same line, those same wordings are used. That the Supreme Personality of Godhood is time. It's a translation of ISKCON uses that translation. What do y'all think? Are y'all thinking? Must think, very important. Witness, time is a witness. No, God. God is a witness. Can see past, present. I can see past, present, and future. Yeah, in Vishwarupa Darshan, yes. But time, can time see past, present, and future? Gunatita and Kalatita usually we talk about as saying past, present, and future simultaneously. I don't know if you would say time itself can see past, present, and future. Probably. Potential. I think quantum physicists would agree with you. But time actually changes. So it's not a constant. So I don't know if it can witness itself the same way as somebody who's outside of time can witness it. Just to use logic here, I don't know which one's right or wrong. But I know that quantum physicists has discovered, very interestingly, that the higher up you are, and I mean height, the slower time moves. So when you're in an airplane, you're aging less. How cool is that? It's not significant, of course. It's very minute. And you land quick enough. This is why you'll find delays with GPS systems. And all these, because you have, when you have to get to the satellite and time is moving slower up there. And then by the time it comes back down here, there's a lag in time. So they're trying to, this is one of the biggest difficulties with these self-driving cars. Because you're not getting the information in real time. Okay, time. I am time. Why would this be such a significant line? Come on, people, think. Except for time being one of my favorite topics. Why would I focus on this?
Well, time is always there in every moment. So just very simply like always present, ever present.
It's ever present. Time is ever present. Interesting. Again, I don't know if I completely agree. Because we have beyond time. but it does seem to be around a lot. And I can see what you're saying. We are definitely inside time, so it's always there. When we talk about we are bound, we are in bondage. We wouldn't think about this being our first persecutor. The first thing that binds us, well, our own mind is what binds us the most, but time. Time binds us. Even before we say the body binds us, time binds us. How? How is time binding? We measure things by time. We do measures, not everything. We measure quite a few things by time. Age. Our age we measure by time. Daily routines, how long things take. When I open Netflix, if it's too long, no, cannot watch. Open YouTube clip, too long, cannot watch.
Escape everything but time.
We can escape everything but time. From Brahman point of view, we can escape time as well. But I see what you're saying from we feel in our everyday lives, we can escape everything but time. In our everyday lives, we definitely don't think we can escape time. The day is gone, then it's gone. So that's a good hint of how time binds us. Past, gone. Have no control. We have zero control. So in fact, this week, just Gita class, we were speaking about regrets of the past. Vivekachudam, can't remember which one. It's gone. Time's gone. So many things we want to change about the past. If only it was a Word document. Edit, delete. Put space. But it's not, right? Can't be changed. Future? No control. This young boy was talking to me just last night. I really have no control over my future. He seemed so upset about it. I thought it was such an amusing sentence. And why are you so upset about it? And I'm like, wait. Do you think the rest of us have? Like, do you think this is only you? He was talking about a particular scenario. He was really upset that he had no control over the scenario of the future. But it was amusing to think that, like, who has? Even if we think we have perfect control of our lives, who has? We don't know. So time binds us. Why? Because so little of it we have control of. What do we have control of? Here, now. How often are we here in the now? And so we have so little control. Of course, if we stay in the here and now, we're always in control. How awesome is that? We can go from no control to always control. And that's how beautiful time is. But yeah, in this lifetime, in this samsara, deadlines is our first, well, time itself is our first way of being bound and persecuted. Then within time, deadlines persecute us terribly. And then endings. Endings persecute us. They cause so much sorrow, so much disappointment. But beginnings also persecute us. Recently, so many people leaving Hong Kong. This new country beginning. So scary for so many people. So not just endings persecute, beginnings also persecute. Time holds holds a lot of weight in our thinking. And just even waiting is wasting time. Yet so much of our lives we waiting. And so time's so precious and we're wasting it by waiting for whatever it is that we're waiting for. So in this chakra of time, as you mentioned, it's always there. All things are happening. But if you've not yet come to understand, one of the main things about Mahabharata is all things come to an end. This is one of the things the Mahabharata is really. Mahabharata has so many messages, so many plots and subplots. But when you close this book, nobody's left alive. There's like hundreds and hundreds of characters, and every single one. And that's why when I started, I said, there's no spoiler alert needed here. There's just everyone's going to, because in passage of time, things come to an end. And we tend to perceive that it's not. And so a lot of spirituality is changing our thinking from what I perceive it to be to it just is. Example, death is horrible? No. Death just is. Suffering is to be avoided? No. Suffering just is. Young people shouldn't die? No. Death doesn't look at your age. And that just is. So much of the Mahabharata, this is the message. If whatever it is, it just is. And then our interpretation, our perspective, our superimposing of opinions, values, likes, dislikes. But probably the most important is our superimposing of expectations. We had class with the youth yesterday, and there's a line in the book that Gurudev has written that Krishna is a friend to everyone, keeping in the spirit of Krishna-Arjuna relationship. And a good friend has no expectation on anyone else. I actually didn't even notice the line as we read that chapter. And so we read our 3 pages in the group, and then we discuss it. And so one girl put up her hand and said, that's so nice that friends don't have expectations. And yeah, friends don't have expectations of each other. Firstly, I don't know if I agree with me. But then she went on to say, so Krishna has no expectations of us, which is great. But we have so many expectations of Krishna. And this is because I live in an ashram. I was surprised. I was like, really? You have expectations of Krishna? No, all of them. There were like about 25 of them yesterday. They all looked at me and were like, yeah, of course we have expectations of Krishna. I was like, what are your expectations? This is me living in an ashram too long. And of course, the first expectation is he'll give us what we want. At which point I wanted to laugh, because no, he doesn't. Like, why would you expect that? Why would you expect he's going to give us what we want? He doesn't. It just is. Whatever he does, whether he gives us, he doesn't give us, we get it, we don't get it. Our expectation. It's not, and so, of course, I ended the class with saying, I'm sorry you guys have this expectation, but he's never promised he's going to give you what you want. he didn't ever set up that expectation. So much of our lives is our expectations. Young people shouldn't have our expectations. You know, I should never fail, our expectation. I should be able to navigate our expectation. It just is. Whatever it is. And in this case, usually personalities, as we've seen, try as everyone did, Dhritarashtra just didn't change. How much Vidur tried to change. And then only after, wow, something like 800 years, he finally listened. How much Bhishma Pitama tried to change. Tried to change him, he didn't listen. How much everyone tried to change Duryodhana. And then Karna. Karna and Kunti tried, Krishna tried. Nothing. They wouldn't budge. So, little bit. Everyone, little bit maybe. But more or less, no, they didn't change. They just stayed who they are. Only when they themselves chose to do something, they do it. Yeah. This tells us a lot about ourselves, right? And this acceptance. And then when we do choose to do something, we'll see the consequences in time. This is another way in which time finds us. We will make decisions, we will do things, and then now it's up to time. What will happen? So we can act here and now, and then that whole thing about not having control over the future. So we can acceptance of people, and then acceptance of situations. And things come, things go, things come, things go. That's the rhythm to remember in life. Things come, things go. Sometimes when it comes, we get upset. It's so interesting actually to watch. Sometimes when it comes, we get upset. Then we get attached to it. And then when it goes, we get upset again. But we were upset it came. A good example of this is sometimes when people mistakenly fall pregnant. They get so upset. Human happens. And then, oh my gosh, the level of attachment. Because which parent won't have to their kid? Yeah. This one of the persons who was considering joining brahmacharis, getting married, ended up getting married, had a kid. And when the kid was born, the first line she wrote to me was, how can attachment be this instantaneous? Like the moment the kids come, there's like, I have so much attachment, Swamiji. And I'm like, the kid's only 3 days old. And I'm like, I know. Annoyed when it comes, then annoyed when it goes, or annoyed one way or the other. But this, I am time. I am coming, I am going. The comings and the goings. Or as you said, it's the constant of time. In time, all things come. And we should know all things go. In the Gita again, there's that line, whatever has a beginning has to have an end. This line is quoted in the Matrix, and they don't give credit to Bhagavad Gita. Whatever has a beginning has an end. This is well, all these ways in which time persecutes us. But we should move forward now. Actually, I don't want to move forward. Why am I stalling and moving forward? Because now Krishna has to die. Okay, let's do this. We will not make it sad. So, all the boys of Dwarka, naughty young boys, doing naughty young boys things. Probably teenagers, bunch of them hanging out. Masti, just, and they see a saint meditating. So they take one boy and they dress him up like a girl in a sari, and they put a ball in his stomach. They get the chunni and they see him, and they take the boy dressed as a girl to the saint and said, Babaji, Babaji, she is pregnant. Can you tell us, will she have a boy or Masti? Be disrespectful. One, to disturb, and two, to test, right? Like, well, he know. Like they thinking, because you do get these fortune teller people who, and then, you want to say, see, they don't know anything, which is probably what a teenage, arrogant, foolish child is doing. They want to say, see, he doesn't know anything. It's not even a woman and she's not even pregnant. The saint looks at them, furious, and says, he will give birth to an iron ball, and that will be the cause of the destruction of your entire clan. They obviously caught him on a bad day to give such a extreme curse, and teenage boys being not nice, not cultured in the least. You want to go do masti, do bother meditating Rishi. Go do masti. But they did. Ugrasena. Do you all remember Ugrasena? Who's Ugrasena? You've never mentioned him before. Krishna's grandfather. Ugrasena was kept in jail. Kamsa came along. Devaki was also put in jail. And when Kamsa was killed, Ugrasena was once again made king of, well, now Dwarka. They were living in Mathura. But I think he's still in Mathura. Krishna came to Dwarka. Sorry, Ugrasena is still in Mathura. So he hears about this curse. The boy is kept in the palace. Now, this is how amazing a Rishi's words are. He gives birth to an iron ball. They take the iron ball and they grind it into fine powder so that hopefully nobody gets hurt by it. They sprinkle it over the bed of the river, into the river, but it falls on the river. And from there, bamboo shoots start growing. So this iron ball has now become bamboo shoots. Where is this? Prabhasa. It's a pilgrimage spot. It was a beautiful Shiva temple. And all the people of Dwarka and Mathura would go there often as their pilgrimage. And not so far away, so they would go very regularly. Okay, so river, temple, river, riverbank, bamboo shoots growing. Story number 1. Okay. Don't great saints and sages can end up like that. Story number 2, you'll already know. At the end of the war, Gandhavri is very, very angry that all her sons have been killed. She has promised not to curse Yudhishthira. She is furious and she curses. Just as my entire lineage has destroyed itself, your entire lineage will destroy itself. Krishna bows down and says, thus. And he starts and says, I was wondering how I was going to exit this world. You've made it easy for me. So 35 years has passed after the Mahabharata war. When Krishna was with Arjuna remember, they went to go hang out for a while, just Arjuna and Krishna, and then he said, I want to go back home to spend time with my parents. He had said, when something finishes its purpose, it is no longer needed. And this was like a trigger or a code, not trigger. Like this is not, this line is, if now Krishna says this line, we know it's going to end. Yeah. So the first thing he said was the chariot has finished its purpose, chariot burnt. And then he said, I have finished my purpose. He made 3 promises. Yudhishthira will be king, he will not fight in the war, and Abhimanyu's son, Parikshit, will live. He fulfilled those 3 promises, and then he said, I have fulfilled my purpose. And then Arjuna started crying. He said, no, not my purpose of living, just my purpose of the war. Relax. And Krishna leaves. 35 years later, Arjuna gets a message from Krishna saying, I have fulfilled my purpose. It is time. Come to Dwarka. So this is as per actual Mahabharata. Poetically, some people say Krishna speaks to Arjuna in Arjuna's mind. And says this line, not messenger, says it to Arjuna while Arjuna is in a dreamlike state, meditative state. And Arjuna has a whole conversation with him where he tries to revise the message of the Gita. He is holding on to Krishna as a friend. And, possible because when saints say these stories, maybe they have seen it in their meditations. They've had the experience that I've also heard, okay, we'll get to that point. We'll go step by step. One day when Krishna wakes up, lots of messages are coming from the town, but there's lots of worms in the food. There's suddenly lots of mice eating the crops. There's all these signs of things deteriorating. And Krishna thinks, okay, enough, time to leave. And so he says, well, I think we should go to Prabhasa and pray to the temple. And let's reset everything. People are upset, people are scared. Let's invoke the Lord. And so every single man in Dwarka sets off in this rally. Women and children are still at home. Everyone has gone with Krishna on pilgrimage to the temple. They go to the temple, they have a beautiful prayer, everybody's in good spirits. Then they come out and they think, let's have a drink before going home. Mahabharata teaches us many things. I have not focused on the do's and don'ts as much, but it's definitely avoid alcohol. Like it's screaming. I haven't gone into it much, but it comes up so often. Do not gamble. These are like big, highlighted. But yeah, let's have a drink. And you know how often I hear people say that? I'm a Swamini. And then they look at me and then they'll say, oh, not you. We'll go and have a drink. I think it's because I live in Hong Kong. I say it so casually. Let's see what happens after this drink. So It's Satyaki. Do y'all remember Satyaki? He hero next to Arjuna in the Mahabharata war. Arjuna's disciple, Krishna's right hand. Really, really nice guy. And Krita Varma, I don't know if y'all remember him. He was also in the Mahabharata war. He was with Duryodhana. The three of them, Ashwatthama, Krita Varma, and Kripacharya, did the night massacre. Do y'all remember that? After the war was over and they killed everyone in their sleep. So Krita Varma is part of Krishna's clan. Satyaki is Krishna's clan. They're outside the temple, they've had a drink. Satyaki makes a comment. What kind of Kshatriya are you to murder people in this? Call yourself a hero. Taunting, insulting, angry. But Varma retaliates by saying something else that Satyaki did. He had also, to fulfill somebody's curse, somebody's boon, he had also killed somebody in the war only. So many things happened, right? They start fighting. Pretty much everyone picks a side. Suddenly there's two teams and they're fighting. Krishna's either just watching. In one version, he literally sits down with his back up against the tree trunk and watches. In one version, he initially starts to help, and then, but it is Krishna. It's definitely Krishna who takes the bamboo. They fight, they got out of the temple, the river's there, on the banks of the river, this bamboo has grown, remember? He grabs the bamboo and he makes the first weapon. There's iron in this bamboo, so when it pierces, it stabs, it kills. Everyone takes bamboo sticks. Everybody's stabbing each other. The Mahabharata war took 18 days. This took less than 5 minutes. They have all killed each other in less than 5 minutes. But the first one to die is Krishna's son, Pradyumna. You're like, you never told us he had a son. He had many. Pradyumna is his first son born from Rukmini. And he's watching. He doesn't stop it. Important to note. Why? In the Mahabharata, he never stopped anyone's death. When it was their time, they died. Now it's his own son. This is why Krishna is called Samatvam. He does not have favorites. Sees everyone with equal vision. He didn't act differently for his family. He didn't act differently for his son. It was his time. Krishna watched. And then he watched all of them destroy each other. And he sighed. Only 2 of them were left because they cannot be killed. Krishna, Balram. Balram sits down. Krishna says, wait. Message was sent to Arjuna. Comes back, says, okay. Y'all already know the message. Arjuna gets the message. In yogic power, Balram leaves his body and turns into Sheshna. Balram was incarnation of Sheshna, goes back to being Sheshna. Probably very relieved that this avatar is over because it was definitely not a fun avatar for poor Balramji. I always get surprised in the Dasha avatar that they quote Balram as one of the avatars because really, no. Yeah. So he's an avatar of Sheshna. But also, they did too many mistakes poor guy made in this lifetime. But that was his role. Everyone has to play their part. He played his part. So Balram's gone. Now Krishna had been blessed that his body is invincible. Also, he's an avatar, so he himself can decide his body is invincible. But some rishi had blessed him with some huge. At that point, he was standing. The rishi looked at him. Whole body was blessed. And only the bottom of his feet can be penetrated. This is like one of your loophole stories. When you have a blessing, please know every blessing holds a loophole curse. Every curse holds a blessing. Very often when we get, or when these demons ask for how they should not be killed, they're asking for how they should be killed. But here I want to pause 1 second and say, Balram could exit using yogic power. Vidur exited his life using yogic power. Kunti exited her life using yogic power. Surely Krishna can exit using yogic power? Of course he can. Does he? No. Krishna's greatest glory is he didn't want glory. He gave glory to Arjuna as hero of the world. Glory to Bhishmacharya as guru of all the teachings. Glory to Yudhishthira to be the greatest king. Glory to the Gopabalas and Gopis of Vrindavan as the greatest devotee. Glory to Yashoda Maya, Devaki, Vasudeva, Nanda Baba. He gave glory to everyone. He chooses how to die. So when they grind that ball, remember that ball that he gave birth to? You know that last bit, if you've ever grated anything, that last bit gets very hard to grate. It stays a bit chunky. Unless you have an electrolytic grater, which they didn't have in those days. So that last bit, they just tossed it in to the river. A fish ate it. A fisherman caught the fish. When the fisherman caught the fish and ate the fish, he found this bit in it. Cannot eat it. He thought, now what to do with it? So he shaped it into the arrow of his arrow. He shaped it into the pointy sharp bit of the arrow. Made an arrow, put it in his quiver. Off he went. One day he's walking along, and today of all days, he's walking along. Krishna is sitting with his back against a tree trunk and his legs stretched out in front of him, one leg on top of the other like this. We all many times will sit like this. And so when your feet are put one leg on top of the other like this, then the shape of the feet can be perceived as funny ears. In a distance, in the dark, twilight, it's already twilight. Krishna's feet are pink, soft, so soft. In a distance, this hunter thinks it's a bunny. Takes out that arrow only and shoots. The arrow pierces Krishna's feet. Toe, they say. So how does he die? He bleeds to death. What an uneventful death, isn't it? After all these crazy deaths in the Mahabharata, bed of arrows, and chariots breaking, divine astras, Krishna shot in his words. Why? His glory is he didn't want glory. Even in Ram Avatar. How does Ram Avatar end? He just walks into the Suravayu river. That's it. Gone. You, as kids, when you hear the Krishna stories, think, how did he die? You don't expect it to be so anticlimax. That's how he does. It's as every day as life itself. Hunter shooting an arrow. Everyday stuff for a hunter. That poor hunter. When he comes closer and he sees it's Krishna, he weeps and he washes Krishna's feet with his tears. But it's what Krishna wanted. What did he want? The Rishi's curse be fulfilled. Like his love for Santa Maha. He makes sure the Rishi's curse is fulfilled. The Rishi wouldn't have realized that it involved Krishna. He just cursed the kids and it was the whole clan. Krishna was part of the clan. Could he have dodged it? Sure. He could have already left in yogic trance before the arrow hits. He doesn't. He consoles the hunter before he leaves. You have to really see his love. Huh? He could watch Pradyum die. Doesn't mean he doesn't love. He loved so much. In fact, there's not many stories of Pradyum and Krishna, but there's one incident where Pradyum's kidnapped by his wife from his previous birth. It's all very exciting. Pradyum's a reincarnation of Kamadev. And Rati was waiting for him. So she comes and says, he's back! Because he had lost his body, right? When Lord Shiva burnt him in ashes. Making sense? Remembering all these stories? Never mind if you don't remember all these stories. But poor thing, she was left without a husband. And then when Pradyum was born, she recognizes that Kamadev been born in this body. So she kidnaps him and she takes him away. And then Krishna finds him within less than a day. Looks at Rati and says, you can't take a baby. But he's my husband. And then even there, so much love. He allows her to stay in the palace and watch him grow up. And Pradyum being born to Krishna is also very symbolic. The desire is born to Krishna. Where does desire originate from? Divinity only. And what are you going to desire? The world outside. If it's to him, for him, also. Otherwise, as Guruji says, all is in the world. It's very cute that you laugh at Guruji's jokes. Okay, I promised you all I wouldn't make it sad. So Krishna leaves. And the minute he does, Kali Yuga starts. And so now while all this was happening, Yudhishthira sees horrible omens everywhere. And Yudhishthira already knows. Why does Yudhishthira know? Because Narad Muni had already come and told him. The message, if you remember correctly, after Krishna leaves, your purpose is also fulfilled. So then you also take that as a sign that you should also leave after that. Anyways, Yudhishthira was waiting. Parikshit's dinner, let's make Parikshit the king. We go and stay in the forest. Yudhishthira had no problem with going to forest. Okay, so what happens here? Two things which are very significant. Arjuna got the message, comes running to Dwarka. When he comes running to Dwarka, Krishna's already left. He's distraught. He's weeping. He's filled with so much grief. Vasudeva, Krishna's father, Devaki, Krishna's mother, look at him and say, no, no, you cannot be in grief. He gave you a job to do. Save all the women and children. So they start evacuating everybody out of Dwarka with the intention that Arjuna will take them back to Hastinapur to look after all of them. First, the minute they are all out of Dwarka, Dwarka sinks. All this happens within half an hour. Everybody's evacuated, okay, out, done. Dwarka sinks, it's bottom of the ocean within half an hour. So there are remnants from what they call anthropological findings. The Dwarka off the coast of Gujarat, which is where it was till today. They have found pots and pillars and all of that in the bottom of the ocean, where Dwarka has sung. Komal Kalani, before marriage, had done a documentary on it, on all the findings of the remains of Dwarka. So that's also one of the satellite images to show the bridge between Lanka. And this is also, there is some evidence that Dwarka was really there and that it sank. Well, there's no evidence that it sank in half an hour, but Mahabharata says within half an hour, everybody's at Dwarka sank. So when Krishna decides to leave, he really doesn't waste time. Entire clan, everybody is killed within 5 minutes. Entire city evacuated and sunk within half an hour. Vasudevji and Devaki Satan leave in yogic power. They end their avatar as well. Now Arjuna is there with this whole retinue of women and children. And people here, because Dwarka has so much wealth, no? I mean, this was kingdom, you can imagine the jewels and the gold and the even like the dishes, the rugs, all in those days, all of that was considered so much wealth. So thieves descend on Dwarka. Word gets out fast. They didn't even have Instagram or mobile phones, but word got out fast that Krishna's gone. Dwarka is unprotected. Thieves were there in no time. Not only did they carry off the jewels, they carried off the women with the jewels. Yeah. Arjuna takes that Gandiva bow and he can't string it. Never mind shoot it, he can't even string it. He's trying really hard to fight these thieves. He's just failing miserably. It's like he has no strength. He single-handedly killed thousands in a day during the war. And now, thieves, simple thieves, not great warriors. He can't fight. And then he is so despondent, so dejected, he pretty much just gets back onto his chariot and the driver has to take him back home. He doesn't even have the strength to hold himself up. When he sees Yudhishthira, he's just weeping. Yudhishthira is talking so sweetly to him. Yudhishthira is just really the most gentle soul, pacifying him. And then Yudhishthira only says, I can tell from the omens that Krishna is already left. Arjuna cries more. So that's affirmation that Krishna is left. Finally, Arjuna stops crying, relates the story to everyone. How he had no strength. And then he says, Krishna was my strength all along. Now that Krishna is left, I have no strength. Now, he said this during the war as well. Like every time he fought a really worthy opponent, he would say, Krishna, by your grace. Like when he was congratulated, you defeated Jayadratha. He would literally bow down to Krishna and say, by your grace, I defeated Jayadratha. And it's true. When he beats, the bed of arrows, When it was finally done, Krishna had said, by your grace. When he killed Karna, by your grace. Every day at the end of the war, pretty much, he would bow down to Krishna and he would say, by your grace, I have fought. So he knew it during the war, not that he didn't know it during the war, but this is a whole new level of knowing it. Right now, he really knows. Without you, I am nothing. I cannot do anything. And so also Arjuna is our hero in the sense that Arjuna was the person who the Bhagavad Gita was taught to. Two heroes of the Mahabharata. Yudhishthira is the main hero, which we're going to see in next week class. Next week we will be ending the Mahabharata. Mahabharata ends when Yudhishthira reaches heaven. Yudhishthira is the only one that doesn't die. He just goes to heaven in his body with the pet dog. It's too cool. Everyone else does. But some very naturally and peacefully, like Kunti, Dhritarashtra, Vidur, all very peacefully. Even now we saw today, well, the clan didn't, but Balram left peacefully, Vasudeva left peacefully. What am I saying? Arjuna is the hero because of the Bhagavad Gita. So, Arjuna's journey starts with they first meet Krishna at Draupadi Swayamvar. This is first meeting. They have one Draupadi. Kunti has said, share her. They like Arjuna walks in. Such a dramatic moment of the Mahabharata. And Krishna says, listen to Mother Kunti and share. And so this is where you see the first surrender. Arjuna surrenders, because Arjuna is the one that won her. It's Arjuna's decision or not, whether they share her. And he listens to not Mother Kunti, but Krishna. And so surrender starts here. Krishna meeting Arjuna, Arjuna loving Krishna and listening. But maybe not surrender. Surrender is like, okay, he's wise, he knows what he's saying, and he's giving us good reasoning. Okay, we'll listen. Maybe not, I surrender, I adore you, I love you, I respect everything you say. Okay. Everyone we listen to who are older and wiser, I listen to you also. Anything, but there is surrender. If you try to, then let's say 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. Then we see that they get very close. This beautiful friendship is created between Arjuna and Krishna. And then we get to war has been declared. And Arjuna has to choose between army and Krishna. And now you see your surrenders way great. You're going to think 10? No, at this point also it's only 5. Huh? Yeah. Why can I say so confidently only 5? If you've heard the story, you know, during the war, half the time he didn't listen. So did he love Krishna? Yes. Love is I love you doesn't mean I'll listen to you. I love you doesn't mean I trust you. So maybe I want to you, but you know, desire so strong. Vasanas are pushing. And so I give in to vasana and desire. And say sorry, because it's easier than to ask for permission to do what I want to do. So Arjuna chose Krishna. Krishna becomes charioteer. During the war, surrender. Okay. Finally, he does listen. Even during the Bhagavad Gita, before the war started, he was like, I don't want to fight. Even there was. Because at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I have said what I want to say, now you do what you want to do. I'm slightly paraphrasing. but only slightly. And then Arjuna replies, I'll do what you said. Very nice moment in the Bhagavad Gita. Very nice moment in the Mahabharata. Surrender. Maybe 600. End of the war. No, probably during the Vishwarupa Darshan. Little bit more surrender. Still not complete. Why? Because we still think I'm doing. Sure, he's helped me, but I'm doing. Aren't I doing? Of course I'm doing. I'm doing so much. Hard work here that I'm doing. I have to run my house. I have to deal with all these people in my life. I have to keep up my exercise routine and my step count. So much pressure. I'm doing. And Arjuna couldn't string Gandiva bow. His surrender is complete. Because finally he realized. It's poetically said. Where? I can't remember where. Somewhere. Not even a blade of grass can move without his will. Meaning the grass can't move on its own. Wind has to do it. Wind doesn't move on its own. Arjuna learned the Gita 35 years ago at the beginning of the war. The words of the Gita only come alive in his heart now, when his surrender is complete. We receive knowledge, and it's ours only when we've surrendered to the Lord. Otherwise, we're just holding it. There's a really nice example I've heard. And a kid, or you and me, when we pack lunch and we take it, and we're carrying it. Is it my lunch? Yeah. Belongs to me? Yes. I can have it anytime? Yes. But I'm carrying it. When I open the box and chew it and swallow, now it's me. Before it was mine. But now it's me. Surrender turns knowledge from mine to me. And so Mahabharata shows Arjuna's journey of surrender. Arjuna is you and me. The journey of surrender. Meet Krishna wise, yes. Okay, I'll listen. I'll try. Oh, okay. Okay, no, he's really wise. I'll listen. As much as I can, because, I want to do other things too. There's fears, there's love, there's attachment. I'll listen. At no point we in love. Just takes that much to surrender. And the turning point is truly understanding. You do. All my glory is yours. So, even though Krishna is left, he doesn't leave. So today doesn't have to be sad. I'm sure it was really sad for all the devotees at that point in time. And Pandavas are extremely distraught. Except for Yudhishthira, he's doing well. Yudhishthira is doing well. His knowledge and his tapasvacharya, he's doing well. We'll see it next week. Probably will be the last class, unless I have so much more to say. Sometimes I get distracted. But before these, I used to also get really sad. He doesn't leave people. He doesn't leave. Just the form. Krishna, Guru. Even Arjuna is still with us. Don't you feel he's your buddy? Don't you feel like giving him a hug right now? Saying, don't worry. You're going to see him so soon. They are. We're going to see each other within a week. I promise, next week, Arjuna will see Krishna. Trustees. Arjuna is also there. So, but the story next week is from Yudhishthira's point of view. Any questions?
So much has to go into before actually learn the lessons.
Yeah, be very dense. We have to go through a lot before we get it. Doesn't have to. We can surrender. Don't want it. Just whatever you get, you get. And if it's not much, it's not much. But it will always be enough. That's also surrender. And it's interesting. I get Bhiksha, all of y'all know. So food comes twice a day. And then sometimes something will be happening in somebody's life. It doesn't come. Very interestingly, mostly I know. I get a sense it's not coming today. I have a provision. Sometimes I'm distracted. I've got this going on, that going on. And then so realize at which point I'm yelling and screaming at everyone because I get cranky when I'm hungry, but I'm so much better. And then people will say, oh no, you must have been hungry. Aren't you people who feed yourself? Don't you all get hungry sometimes? Like the richest person on this planet, don't they get hungry sometimes because they've missed a meal or they... Something will happen, right? Or they themselves are dieting. And then they're starving. They're surrounded by food. They can eat the fanciest food they want. But no, they will eat watermelon the whole day. Because they died. Don't they feel hunger? How you, like, you know, when we say surrender everything, but I won't get what I want. How are you going to avoid? Everyone will get hungry. Everyone will get sick. Everyone will go through difficulties. Like when it comes with you, and those around us deal with how we deal with it. There. But it's surrender means okay, whatever comes. Sometimes what come will be a little bit unpleasant. Who hasn't gone through it? Don't want anything. Shouldn't I fight? But they fought the whole Mahabharata. Whoa! Do you remember where Krishna tells Arjuna the biggest fight was? After the war is over? Was it Krishna? No, I think it was Bhishma Pitama. beginning of the, remember, Krishna takes Arjuna, Yudhishthira to Bhishma, and Bhishma Pitama says, now your real fight starts. Your biggest fight is here. You don't need to fight with anyone else. Don't fight with yourself. Just mind, listen to intellect. Can't. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadram pashyantu, ma kaschit kalpakave, asato ma satgamaya, Jyotirgamaya mrityunam amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Hari Om Shri Guru Hari